I was sitting alone in my office the other day, not working, not reading reports, just thinking. I turned 94 this year, and even now that number feels strange to say out loud. 94. When you live this long, memories start visiting you without invitation. Old photographs, faces from another time, versions of yourself you barely recognize anymore. I came across pictures from my 50s and early 60s. I remember how confident I felt back then. I truly believed I had life figured out. I thought experience had already taught me everything I needed to know about money, work, and success. But standing here now, with almost 4 more decades behind me, I can tell you something honestly. I was still learning. I was still wrong about many things. That's why I want to talk to you today, especially if you're in your 50s or 60s, not as someone giving advice from a book and not as a lecture, just one human being talking to another, sharing what time eventually teaches all of us. If we're lucky enough to listen, many people treat their 50s and 60s like a slow ending, as if life is quietly winding down. That's a mistake. These years are not leftovers. They are not something to simply get through. They can be some of the richest, most meaningful years of your life, but only if you understand what deserves your attention now. When I think back to my own 50s, I remember being extremely busy. Those years were filled with responsibility, growth, and momentum. Workdays were long, travel was constant. Decisions never stopped coming. I enjoyed it. And truthfully, I still enjoy working even today. But there's something I didn't fully realize back then. Being busy is not the same as being present. I miss moments I can never get back. Simple moments, family dinners, school events, quiet conversations that never happened because I was always thinking about the next task. Years later, my daughter once told me she wished I had been around more. Not all the time, just more. She didn't say it with anger, she said it with honesty. And she was right. The work always waited. It still does. Business problems don't disappear overnight, but moments with people you love don't wait. They pass quietly, without warning, and once they're gone for good. So if there's one thing I want you to understand early, it's this. Don't confuse productivity with purpose. Achievements matter, but relationships matter more. Decades from now, you won't remember extra hours at work. You won't replay meetings in your mind. What you'll remember are shared meals, laughter, trips, and the feeling of truly being there. Now let's talk about money, because I know it's on your mind. Many people believe that once they cross 50, the opportunity to grow financially disappears. That belief creates fear, and fear leads to bad decisions. The truth is much calmer than that. Time still works for you, just differently. Compounding doesn't stop because you've had more birthdays. Even steady, simple investing over 15 or 20 years can make a real difference. In fact, many people in their 50s and 60s are in their strongest earning years. Children become indent. Big expenses shrink. That creates a powerful window if you use it intentionally. The mistake I often see is people continuing to spend as if time is unlimited. Lifestyle grows, but planning doesn't. This doesn't mean you should stop enjoying life. It means you should understand the difference between comfort and excess. You don't need everything you can afford at this stage of life, Clary. Thank you is more valuable than luxury. When you know what truly matters and what doesn't, you gain something far more important than money. You gain freedom. One thing I've noticed over the years is how fear changes people's behavior around money. It happens quietly. Someone reaches their mid-50s, looks at their savings, looks at the calendar, and suddenly feels behind. That feeling, being behind, pushes people to do things they would never have done when they were calmer. They start searching for shortcuts. They listen to loud promises. They chase exciting opportunities. They convince themselves that they need one big win to fix everything. But the truth is, panic has never built lasting wealth. It only creates regret. I've been investing for most of my life, and if there's one pattern I've seen again and again, it's this. The people who do well over time are rarely the ones taking dramatic risks. They are the ones making steady, almost boring decisions year after year. It's not exciting, but it works. At this stage of life, trying to catch up by swinging for the fences is dangerous. Losses hurt more now because there's less time to recover. Stability becomes more valuable than speed. P, predictability matters more than excitement. So instead of chasing big wins, focus on building a solid foundation. The first step is awareness. Sit down and look honestly at your monthly spending, not approximately, precisely. Write everything down. Utilities, insurance, food, subscriptions, entertainment, payments you barely notice anymore. Most people are shocked by what they find. You'll discover money flowing out of your life for things that add little or no value, services you forgot you had, memberships you don't use, payments tied to habits, not needs. Removing those expenses isn't sacrifice, it's clarity. Next, deal with high-interest debt. Debt with high interest works against you every single day. It grows quietly, draining your future without making any noise. You cannot out-invest. Paying it down is one of the safest, smartest financial moves you can make at this age. Once that burden is reduced, focus on saving and investing with intention. If you have access to retirement accounts, use them fully. They exist to reward discipline. If you're eligible for additional contributions later in life, take advantage of that. It's one of the few times the system actually gives you an edge. When it comes to investing, simplicity often wins. Broad market investments have historically rewarded patience. They don't require constant attention or perfect timing. They require consistency and the ability to stay calm during downturns. Many people overestimate their ability to pick winners and underestimate the power of staying invested. Complex strategies don't automatically mean smarter outcomes. In fact, complexity often introduces more ways to fail. Now let's shift the conversation, because money, while important, is not the most valuable thing you have. Time is. People spend decades learning how to earn money, but very few spend time learning how to protect their time. When you're young, time feels endless. Later, you realize it was the most valuable asset all along. You're in your late 50s or early 60s. You likely have a limited but meaningful number of healthy years ahead. That's not a reason for fear. It's a reason for focus. It forces you to ask better questions. How do I want to spend my days? What kind of work still matters to me? What am I postponing that may not need to wait? I've known people who saved diligently but postponed living. They planned their thing for someday. Then someday arrived and their energy was gone. Their health limited them, or their time simply ran out. That's not failure, but it is imbalance. The goal isn't to accumulate as much as possible. The goal is to build enough security to live well now and later. Money should support your life, not replace it. Balance is the real skill at this stage. Save responsibly, invest wisely, but don't forget to live. Experiences don't require luxury, only intention. Time spent well has a return no investment can match. In the second half of life, calm decisions beat fast ones every time. As you grow older, something interesting happens. Success stops feeling as loud as it once did. Achievements that used to excite you start to feel quieter, almost distant. What becomes louder, instead, are the people in your life, the ones who stayed, the ones you lost, and the ones you wish you had spent more time with. If I could change one thing about my earlier years, it wouldn't be a business decision or an investment choice. It would be how I spent my time with the people I loved. Not because I didn't care, I did deeply, but because I assumed there would always be more time later. Late. R is not guaranteed. Some of the people who matter most to you today will not always be within reach. Parents age. Friends drift. Life moves faster than we expect. When you realize this, you start to understand that relationships are not something you fit in after work. They are the work. If your parents are still alive, talk to them. Don't wait for the perfect moment. If you have children, even your own ones with busy lives, make the effort. Call them, visit them, be present. The small moments matter more than the big ones. Money can improve comfort, but it cannot replace connection. Success feels empty when there is no one to share it with. Health is another quiet truth people often ignore until it demands attention. When you're younger, your body forgives you. You can neglect it, push it, and assume it will always recover. As time passes, forgiveness becomes harder to earn. You don't need extreme routines or perfect discipline. You need consistency, movement, care, regular checkups, listening when something feels wrong instead of brushing it aside. Your health determines what your future can look like. Without it, even the best plans lose their meaning. I've known people who reached retirement with financial security but physical limitations. They dreamed of travel, time with grandchildren, simple pleasures, and their bodies wouldn't cooperate. That kind of regret is painful because it's often preventable. Now let's talk briefly about income in the later years of life. Decisions around retirement income, pensions, and government benefits are deeply personal. There is no single correct answer for everyone. What matters is understanding your own situation. If you're healthy and don't need income immediately, waiting can increase long-term security. If you need peace of mind now, taking benefits earlier may be the right choice. These decisions should reduce stress, not add to it. The same applies to pensions and guaranteed income. Some people value certainty more than flexibility. Others prefer control. Neither approach is wrong, as long as it aligns with your health needs and values. Beyond money and health, there's another question that begins to matter more. As time passes, what will people remember about you? Legacy isn't about how much you leave behind. It's about how you made people feel. Were you reliable, kind, honest, generous with your time? At this stage, life, the powerful thing is that it's not too late to shape that legacy. If you've been distant, you can reconnect. If you've been focused only on yourself, you can give back. If relationships were damaged, you can try to repair them. Apologies matter. Forgiveness matters. Small acts of kindness matter more than most people realize. I've learned that meaning doesn't come from accumulation. It company. Mess from contribution. Helping others. Teaching what you've learned. Being present when it matters most. As the years pass, titles fade. Possessions lose importance. What remains are relationships, health, and the quiet knowledge that you lived with intention. Those are the things that truly last. As the years add up, you begin to see life differently. The noise fades, the rush slows. What once felt urgent no longer does, and what once felt small starts to feel important. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned over time is the power of gratitude. Gratitude changes how you experience everything. Each morning I wake up thankful, not because life is perfect, but because I'm still here, still able to think clearly, still able to work, still able to enjoy conversations, simple meals, quiet tea moments. Gratitude doesn't remove problems, but it softens them. It gives perspective. You can always find something missing in your life. More money, better health, more time. But focusing on what's missing keeps you restless. When you focus on what you already have, something shifts. You realize that in many ways you already have enough. This doesn't mean you stop striving or improving. It means you stop sacrificing the present while chasing a future that may never arrive. For those of you in your 50s or 60s, this is especially important. These years are not a rehearsal. They are not something to endure until retirement. They are real life happening right now. Yes, you should get your finances in order. Financial stress steals peace, and peace becomes more valuable with age. Make a plan. Reduce debt. Save consistently. Invest calmly. Not because money defines success, but because stability gives you freedom. Freedom to say no. Freedom to slow down. Freedom to choose how you spend your days. But once you build that security, don't let money become the focus of your life. Use it as a tool, not a scoreboard. The goal isn't to finish with the highest number. The goal is to live. Well, while you can, balance matters more now than ever before. Balance between saving and spending, between work and rest, between ambition and appreciation. Too much focus in one direction eventually creates regret. I've seen people work endlessly, promising themselves they'll live later, and later never comes the way they expect. Health changes, energy fades, priorities shift. What remains are missed opportunities. You don't need luxury to enjoy life. You need intention, time with people you care about, activities that bring you peace, moments where you're fully present, not distracted by what comes next. Another thing age teaches you is that comparison is pointless. There will always be someone richer, healthier, or more successful. Measuring yourself against others robs you of joy. The only meaningful comparison is between who you were and who you are becoming. If you're kinder now than before, that's growth. If you're calmer now than before, that's success. If you're more present now than before, that's wealth. At this stage of life, you still have time. Not unlimited time, but enough. Enough to adjust your path, enough to reconnect, enough to take better care of yourself, enough to live more intentionally. Don't waste these years worrying about what you can't control. Focus on what you can, your habits, your relationships, your mindset, your gratitude. Because in the end, a good life isn't built on perfection. It's built on awareness, on choosing what matters and letting go of what doesn't. And if you can do that, if you can live with balance, gratitude, and purpose, then no matter what your bank account says, you'll have lived a life that was truly rich.